Gears of War 2 is a 2008 military science fiction third-person shooter video game developed by Epic Games and published by Microsoft Game Studios for the Xbox 360. It is the second installment of the Gears of War series, with lead design by Cliff Bleszinski. The game was officially released in North America, Europe and Australia on November 7, 2008 and was released in Japan on July 30, 2009. The game expands technically on the previous game by using a modified Unreal Engine 3 engine. The development team brought in comic book writer Joshua Ortega to help write the plot for the game. In Gears of War 2, the COG continues its fight against the Locust Horde, who were attempting to sink all of the cities on the planet Sera. Sergeant Marcus Fenix leads Delta Squad into the depths of the planet to try to stop the Locust during the assault upon Locust territory. The player controls Phoenix in the main mission campaign, with the ability to play cooperatively with a second player controlling Phoenix's best friend and fellow squad member Dominic Santiago. The game includes several existing and new multiplayer modes including 5-on-5 battles between human and Locust forces, and a Horde mode that challenges up to 5 players against waves of Locust forces with ever-increasing strength. New weapons and gameplay mechanics such as chainsaw duels, and the ability to use downed foes as meatshields were added to the game. On its release weekend, Gears of War 2 sold over 2 million copies, and within 2 months of release, had sold 4 million copies. It was the 7th best-selling video game of 2009 and received several accolades. The game received similar praise as its predecessor, with the new gameplay and multiplayer modes seen as outstanding additions. Gameplay. Gears of War 2 is a third-person shooter with an emphasis on the tactical use of cover, and retains much of the same gameplay from the first game. The player, playing as either Marcus or Dominic in the campaign mode, or as any of the human or Locust characters in multiplayer mode, can only carry a pistol, one type of grenade, and 2 other weapons at any time, though they may swap these for weapons found in strategic locations or left by downed foes or fallen allies. Each weapon can be used for normal fire as well as for melee attacks. The game's signature Lancer, an assault rifle mounted with a chainsaw bayonet for its melee, can be used to instantly kill foes. The game introduces the ability to engage in chainsaw duels should the player attempt to chainsaw an opponent also using the Lancer. The player is presented with a controller button to press rapidly to try to win the duel and avoid death. Gears of War 2 rebalances the power of the existing weapons while introducing 5 new ones, a flamethrower, a chain gun, a mortar cannon, a Gorgon pistol, and the ink grenade. The chain gun and the mortar are heavy weapons, forcing the player to move at walking speed while carrying it in both hands. The Gorgon pistol is an SMG-like machine pistol that fires 4 shot bursts per magazine. The ink grenade doesn't damage with its detonation, but instead temporarily poisons the area it was thrown, making it very useful for driving enemies out of cover. Grenades can be planted on walls or floors as proximity traps that go off when an enemy nears, but only fragmentation grenades have the ability to kill foes when they go off. The player's health is represented by a red-crimson omen that fades onto the screen the more damage the player takes. Staying out of the line of fire allows the player to recover their health. Depending on the game mode or difficulty, if the player takes too much damage, they enter a downed state where they can crawl around the map to get out of battle and seek help. During this time, a teammate can revive him, an enemy may brutally execute the downed player, or the player may bleed out if too much time has passed. The player can also grab a downed character and use them as a meat shield, allowing the body to absorb damage but forcing the player to use a one-handed pistol. Explosive weapons will simply destroy the character they strike. Like its predecessor, Gears of War 2 features an optional mature content filter, which, when active, makes blood appear as sparks and removes harsh language from the dialogue. Furthermore, progress towards most of the Xbox achievements for the game can be earned in either campaign or multiplayer modes. Campaign mode The campaign mode in Gears of War 2 allows for a single player or 2 players playing cooperatively as Marcus or Dom. A new normal difficulty was added between the game's casual and hardcore difficulties. There is also an insane difficulty that is unlocked after the player completes the game at least once. Players in co-op mode can select different difficulties, and a communal combat system will adjust the game's artificial intelligence to give both players a fair challenge. The co-op campaign can be played in a drop-in drop-out manner, with the second player able to join the first player's game in progress. As well as collecting some COG tags as in the first game, players can search other story-based items such as personal letters and medical records, with discovered items being added to a war journal. The campaign features a deeper story with new characters, new weapons, and new enemies according to John DiMaggio, the voice actor for Marcus Fenix. New vehicles have been added to the game, such as the Centaur tank, which lead designer Cliff Bleszinski describes as a tank with monster truck wheels. Players will also ride a Brumac and reverse in the game. Cutscenes use the better facial rendering technology of Epic's Unreal Engine, and engage in more dramatic angles for the conversation, as well as using a video screen on Jack to talk with their commanders face-to-face. Multiplayer Gears of War 2 features an upgraded multiplayer mode that allows up to 10 users to simultaneously play in teams of 5 on 5. Gears of War 2 includes most of the multiplayer modes, including Execution, Warzone, Annex and King of the Hill, and adds in 3 new modes. Guardian is a modified version of Assassination from the original Gears of War, but allows players to continue fighting after the leader has been killed, but losing the ability to respawn. Wingman splits all 10 players into 5 teams of 2, where both members of a team play as the same character. Submission, formerly known as Meat Flag, is a version of Capture the Flag in which players attempt to down an enemy controlled by the game's AI and move its body to their team's base or objective to earn points. The 10 maps shipped with the game originally are Avalanche, Blood Drive, Day 1, Hail, Jacinto, Pavilion, River, Ruins, Security and Stasis. A Halo-like matchmaking system has been utilized for the online multiplayer. Players can now engage in multiplayer scenarios with any combination of human players and artificial intelligence controlled by the game, with the ability to set the AI's intelligence level. Horde is a new co-op mode for 5 players, fighting off waves of attacking Locust together, with each wave becoming more difficult. Horde mode does not feature bot support as in competitive multiplayer, and can be played alone. Players can pan around a map as the camera focuses on areas of intense fighting, and the ghost cam allows a player to roam freely around a map. The ability to take photographs is also featured, which enables the player to take a photo, which can be uploaded to the official Gears of War website and is rated on the quality of action in the shot. Synopsis. Gears of War 2 takes place 6 months after the detonation of the Lightness bomb at the end of the first game. Though most of the underground army of the Locust Horde was destroyed, the explosion also caused much of the liquid emulsion underground to vaporize, causing a fatal disease called rust lung to spread among the diminished human population. After months of peace, the cities of Tolan and Montevardo suddenly and mysteriously disappear underground, leading the coalition of Order governments to suspect the resurgence of the Locust. Soon after, the once impenetrable Jacinto, one of the last remaining safe havens for humans, begins to show signs that the same fate awaits it. To stop the fall of Jacinto, the COG responds with a large-scale counter-offensive against the Locust. Senior producer Rod Ferguson says in order to save Jacinto, the COG have no choice but to take the war to the Locust. Characters. Returning characters includes the main protagonists of the series Marcus Fenix and Dominic Santiago and others from the first game, including Marcus and Dom's fellow Delta Squad COG soldiers, Augustus Coltrane Cull and Damon Baird. Also returning in supporting roles are radio dispatcher Anais Stroud and senior officer Colonel Hoffman. Lead designer Cliff Bleszinski confirmed that the character Carmine would be returning, but did not reveal how or in what capacity, as Carmine was killed in the original Gears of War. It was later revealed that the original Anthony Carmine would not be present in the Gears of War 2 campaign, but rather his brother, Benjamin, would make an appearance. The game also introduces several new characters. They include Chairman Prescott, the noble, yet near-dictatorial military leader of COG. Ty Calizo, a spiritual and meditative warrior from a tradition of honor-bound fighters. And Dizzy Wallin, a former stranded who joined the COG to keep his family safe. Dom's wife Maria also makes an appearance, and Dom's search for her plays an important part in the story. Plot As Gears of War 2 begins, the COG army is mobilizing to send forces into the depths of Sera to assault the Locust directly. The COG deploys several units into the Locust tunnel, known as the Hollow, despite sustaining heavy casualties. Delta Squad, consisting of Marcus Fenix, Dom Santiago, Benjamin Carmine and later Augustus Cole and Damon Baird, continues to search the Hollow and discovers that the Locust are using a giant riftworm to sink the human-occupied cities. The Locust plan to destroy the rock structures at the outskirts of Jacinto, the last major human city, in hopes of sinking it into the ground. Delta Squad kills the riftworm before it can sink Jacinto and returns to the surface. They are ordered to investigate a nearby abandoned COG outpost where they encounter experimented creatures of unknown origin and learn of a backdoor entrance to the Hollow in the nearby Kedar Mountains. They find prisoner cages and Dom convinces Marcus that Maria must be inside one of them. They manage to find her, but the Locust imprisonment and torture has left her severely disfigured and traumatized, unable to communicate. Faced with the nigh vegetative state Maria is in, Dom tearfully chooses to euthanize her. Marcus and Dom then charge into the Locust stronghold. Inside, Delta Squad discovers the Locust Horde is locked in a civil war against the Lambent, or a group of Locust who have been exposed to emulsion. They decide to destroy both the Locust and Lambent forces by detonating a bomb under Jacinto, which will sink the city and flood the Locust tunnels. Marcus and Dom battle their way through the Locust tunnels, while Cole and Baird use a helicopter to transport a bomb into the cavern. A Lambent Brumac destroys the bomb before it can be detonated. Marcus improvises by using a satellite targeting solution to bombard the Brumac with an orbital laser, which causes it to violently explode. Jacinto begins to sink and seawater floods into the sinkhole, destroying the remaining Locust forces. As the COG forces and civilians evacuate, a voiceover of the Locust Queen talks about unintended legacies. After the credits, a last voiceover of Adam Phoenix is heard, a radio transmission of a call for help, and a cry of desperation, revealing he is still alive. Development. Gears of War designer Cliff Bleszinski has done several interviews to highlight improvements to the game. Heavy netcode optimization has been done to negate the host advantage problem in the first title, and hundreds of tweaks have gone into improving the cover system and movement. To provide a deeper story, the team brought aboard novelist Joshua Ortega as to incorporate more personal drama within the sci-fi setting. Steve Jablonski provided the music for the game. Epic Games also considered making the game easier after complaints about Gears of War. Senior producer Rod Ferguson admitted that for the first game we overshot on the casual difficulty and a game that was a little harder than we intended. A teaser image posted to the Gears of War 2 website on July 8, 2008 suggested that the game was to be released on November 9, 2008, but it was confirmed during the Microsoft E3 2008 press conference that the game would be released on November 7, 2008. On July 14, 2008, the teaser image was removed and the official website relaunched and updated for Gears of War 2. Gears of War 2 was a focal point during Microsoft's E3 2008 presentation on July 15, 2008, which included a hands-on demo. A second trailer, entitled Rendezvous, was made available on July 14, 2008 as a part of E3. The Joseph Kosinski directed trailer, which features the Trans-Am track Diabolical Cracker from the album Red Line, takes its title in spoken words from Alan Seeger's World War I poem I Have a Rendezvous with Death. The game's release date was also set, with a worldwide release to occur on November 7, 2008. Microsoft and Epic Games announced on October 10, 2008 that Gears of War 2 had gone gold. It was stated by Cliff Bleszinski that, unlike Gears of War, the previous installment, Gears of War 2 will not feature a PC port. Graphics. At the 2008 Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, California, As a showcase for the functionality of the Unreal Engine 3, Gears of War creators Epic Games showed various improvements to the engine with specific reference to the sequel itself. The video showed several demonstrations of the improvements, the initial being improvements to the in-game lighting through screen space ambient occlusion, in which dynamic shadows could be generated through the use of a pixel shading technique to render more realistically lit and shaded objects and actors, illustrated through comparison between character and environment models in the original game engine to that of Unreal Engine 3. Also showcased was the ability of the engine to render hordes of actors within the engine, as demonstrated with a large crowd of Locust flocking through the gridlock multiplayer map from the original game. Alongside this technology was improvements to Matinee, an artistic tool used for the rendering and editing three-dimensional scenes within the game. Other physics-related features included improvements to the rendering of water in which specular light and physical interactions with were displayed more realistically, improvements to soft body entities demonstrated with a meat cube, and a floating ball possessing properties similar to that of liquid helium. The largest of these physics engine-related changes was the introduction of destructible environments due to the implementation of real-time structural analysis tools to generate the damage of the materials and subsequently their deformed shapes based upon resultant forces placed upon them. This was demonstrated with the use of explosive arrows fired from the torque bow of the original game causing damage to wooden planks, and also revealing rebar present after destroying areas of a stone structure. Downloadable content and updates on February 20, 2008, coinciding with the game's official announcement at the Game Developers Conference, a free set of gamer pictures and a dashboard theme, as well as a teaser trailer titled Duel, were made available via the Xbox Live Marketplace. The first footage of gameplay from the campaign, highlighting new features of the game, was released online into the marketplace on May 9, 2008. After the Microsoft E3 press conference, the Rendezvous trailer and the press conference demonstration was available for download as well as a new free set of gamer pictures and a dashboard theme. Upon release, every new copy of Gears of War 2 features a code to download the Flashback Map Pack, which includes 5 enhanced multiplayer maps from the original game. Customers who attended the GameStop Midnight Madness game release event received a code to unlock a gold-plated hammerburst rifle for use in multiplayer and a code for an exclusive Xbox 360 dashboard theme optimized for the new Xbox experience. The first downloadable content released after Gears of War 2 was the Combustible Map Pack, which consists of 3 new multiplayer maps. This add-on was announced and released on December 15, 2008. The second title update was released on January 21, 2009, featuring several adjustments to gameplay and adding additional achievements. The patch attempts to correct many of the glitches that players have discovered since the game's release. A third update was applied to Gears of War 2 on March 24, 2009. The update added an experience-based ranking system in which the player is given a numerical value based on their amount of experience points, which are gained by shooting or killing enemies in public multiplayer. The update also addressed several issues with matchmaking, including adding bots in place of players who have quit or lost connection to the game. In early July 2009, Epic Games applied a fourth update to Gears of War 2, which added the ability to gain experience from the multiplayer Horde mode, as well as applying several more gameplay fixes. On July 28, 2009, the Dark Corners add-on was released. This add-on consisted of 7 new multiplayer maps, and an additional campaign chapter that was originally deleted from the game. The deleted scene takes place after Maria's death, where the user can choose to either sneak into the stronghold as Theron guards or charge in as in the original game, though the level is different from the one that appeared in the final game and features a cameo from a stranded character from the original Gears. All Fronts Collection. On May 6, 2009, Microsoft and Epic Games issued a joint press release announcing the Gears of War 2, All Fronts Collection, to be released on July 28, 2009. The All Fronts Collection was to be sold as a retail package, and would have included all add-ons released for Gears of War 2, a poster, and a strategy guide for the game. in response to complaints that the All Fronts collection had identical pricing to the Dark Corners add-on, but significantly more content, as well as the All Fronts collection retail package not being made available in certain regions. Epic Games adjusted the release plan. The All Fronts collection was released digitally via XBOX Live and the Dark Corners add-on was reduced in price. Stereoscopic 3D. In June 2010 during the Electronic Entertainment Expo 2010, Mark Rain was showcasing a tech demo of Gears of War 2 in stereoscopic 3D running on an XBOX 360 thanks to the TRIO Viz for Games technology. This technology unregistered trademark is great because it works on normal HD TVs, as well as the very high-end 3D TVs, Rain commented to Computer and Video Games. We're not planning to re-release this in 3D, unless Microsoft want us to, but I'm sure its technology may be keen to put in the games developed by our partners. In October 2010, TRIO Viz for Games technology has been officially integrated in Unreal Engine 3, allowing to easily convert in stereoscopic 3D, numerous past and upcoming games developed with this engine. Soundtrack. The soundtrack for Gears of War 2 was released on November 25, 2008. Under the record label Something Else Music Works. The music was composed by Steve Jablonski. Marketing. A limited edition of the game was confirmed on February 20, 2008. On July 14, 2008, more information about the limited edition's contents was revealed. The edition features alternative cover art, a steel bookcase with a bonus content DVD, a book entitled Beneath the Surface, an inside look at Gears of War 2, which includes concept art and story-related information, a keepsake photo of Dominic and Maria, and an exclusive XBOX Live code to unlock a gold-plated Lancer for online play. As a bonus item promoted by electronics store Best Buy, customers who pre-ordered the limited edition also received a bonus remote control Centaur tank replica, just like the new vehicle introduced in the game, free of charge. Reception. Critical reception Gears of War 2 received wide critical acclaim. It currently holds a 93.32% aggregate review score at Game Rankings, and a 93/100 from the aggregate review website Metacritic. While the game has been praised for the addition of a deeper plot than the original Gears of War and being highly polished, reviewers noted that the multiplayer experience did not resemble the previous game, especially in its quick pace and enjoyability. IGN noted that while the first 4 acts of the game were satisfying, in the final act the last boss is a complete joke and the ending feels just a tad too abrupt, and that there were some bugs and lag in the online multiplayer. Overall, IGN stated that Gears of War 2 has its flaws when it comes to the technical side of multiplayer, and the last act of the campaign and the voice acting might turn some off. Still, none of that comes close to holding back Gears of War 2 from its destiny, being one of the best games available on the XBOX 360. Also, even though the new plot was praised, critics such as official XBOX magazines scrutinized the game's middle acts, saying that most of the plot falls flat. Both IGN and Eurogamer, among others, positively mention the new Horde mode feature, with Eurogamer saying that Horde is a weighty slab of fun that can turn almost any of them into a time sink, and the leaderboards are likely to be as compelling a reason to stick with Gears of War 2 as the leveling system has been for Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. X-Play praised the game for its polished cover system, and cooperative campaign mode. X-Play also praised the new weapons and characters and its brilliant multiplayer experience. Game Informer called the single-player campaign satisfying, and called the co-op campaign amazing, and goes on to call online multiplayer an outstanding contrast to team deathmatch or capture the flag scenarios. Sales Gears of War 2 has achieved significant success after its release. In its opening weekend, the game sold over 2 million units, and set a new record for the number of simultaneous players on XBOX Live, with over 1 million people logging on to play the game. The game went on to sell over 3 million copies worldwide within the first month of its release, and pushed past 4 million in sales within the first 2 months. It was the 6th best-selling game of December 2008 in the United States, selling in excess of 745,000 copies. It was also the 10th top-selling game in the United States in 2008, with over 1.3 million copies sold. As of May 7, 2009, Gears of War 2 has sold over 5 million units worldwide, bringing the franchise total to 11 million units sold. Awards. Gears of War 2 won several awards following its presentation at E3 2008. IGN gave it the awards Overall Best Shooting Game and Overall Best Graphics Technology of E3 2008. Game Critics Awards gave the game Best Action Game of E3 2008. Gears of War 2 also won Best Shooter and Best Xbox 360 Game at the 2008 Spike Video Game Awards. Sequel. On April 13, 2010 on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, Cliff Bleszinski announced Gears of War 3 and debuted a trailer, titled Ashes to Ashes. The game is set 18 months after the events of Gears of War 2. It was originally going to be released on April 8, 2011, but was delayed and was finally released on September 20, 2011. References. External links, official website.